Hi, welcome back to Classics with Kelsey and Sarah, and we're here today to talk with you about King Solomon's Mines by H. Rider Haggard.
So this is a story. It's kind of classified as lost world fiction. I found out. He was kind of the pioneer of it. So it's like it's kind of a treasure hunt book where they're going into places like that just nobody knows about. In this case, in Africa, and it's kind of an adventurer kind of. I guess nowadays we would think of it as like an Indiana Jones type character. But he was, like I said, the pioneer of that type. And so when I was very excited to read this because I've read a bunch of like parodies of adventure type ones that I kind of knew from some of my research stuff was based off of Haggard. And so I was excited to get to kind of read where it kind of got started. So in this case, it's about... I'm going blank on his name.
His name, Alan Quatermain.
Yes, and he ends up meeting. He ends up being a guide to help some people find his brother, who's in Africa, and they end up getting on the trail of this great treasure.
Yes, it's really just your classic adventure story. And so H. Rider Haggard had lived in South Africa for several years, and this was his, I think this was his first novel, or one of his first novels, and so it was really neat to see how he used his knowledge to create a world, and Victorian readers loved it. Just armchair adventure travel. It's just
and definitely, I felt transported to a time and place and to the people.
It translates very well to modern times, I think, too.
I think both of us were a little surprised at some of the crude references and stuff.
Yeah, you don't normally think of that in older literature, but so that was one thing that bothered us. And
I still enjoyed it, but definitely would caution for
for someone who's older, and just be aware of that. And so the Lost World, it's not an actual world, but he set it in Africa and based it off of different African customs and things. And another thing that we found interesting to discuss about was how Africans were portrayed. And so by our standards nowadays, we were very uncomfortable by the ways that they were spoken of and treated. But we were both realizing that back during this time when it was written, he was actually more progressive than most authors.
Because he has some characters, like he has one character who's very honorable, African. And
I loved that character.
Yes, and they kind of treat him as an equal almost. And I mean, they kind of just have the Africans being a great spectrum, which a lot of times, having read some stuff written around the same time, they're often written kind of the same, kind of stupid, kind of just obviously not up to our level. But obviously some of the verbiage used and stuff is very racist by today's standards, and so that was something we kind of expected going in, knowing the time period. But actually, like we said, we were kind of surprised at just how progressive he was for the time.
So, lots of, it's really adventurous. I don't think he really got too graphic, though. There was some battles and things, but it didn't seem, maybe just a couple of things if you're maybe particularly sensitive to that, but didn't really bother me.
There was some violence, but it's, a lot of stuff is implied rather than graphically described.
Right.
So, it was very fascinating, and the world that he created was just, it's obviously a culture in Africa, and some of the things that he hints at, because they're having ties to King Solomon.
Oh, yes, that was really neat, just having that biblical tie-in.
And it was really fascinating.
And the story is told in first person. Alan Quatermain is... another cool thing I thought about Alan Quatermain was he was... he was actually older. He was at least 60 years old, and here you have him going off on this adventure. And we really enjoyed his character.
Yes. One of the things we laughed about is he is constantly referring to himself as this cowardly person, and he's obviously not. He's been an elephant hunter for years, and he's always doing daring things, but he has a very humble attitude about himself, and it seems like a great joke to us because he's just like, oh, I would never do that. I'm too cowardly. Yeah. And but he's obviously a very brave person.
Yeah. And so even within kind of the tense situations, I also enjoyed little bits of humor. There were a couple of people that were kind of good comedy relief.
Definitely.
And that just kind of made me laugh because you see that in adventure films and novels nowadays where there's all of this tense situations going on, and then someone just quips something and you just have to smile. It just kind of keeps it from getting too heavy.
So I definitely enjoyed this book. Because of some of the cruder stuff, I would say read with caution. Right. But I'm interested in reading the next book in the series.
Yes, me too. He's a character that you can really stick with, I think. So, yeah. Well, I guess that sums it up for King Solomon's Mines. And so I will thank you so much for watching. And I hope that you are able to join us next time.
Yes.
And we're going to discuss...
let's see here. I'm going to peek at my list. We're going to do Least of All Saints.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, thanks again. Bye.
Bye.